Hey heroes, Cap here, and She-Hulk episode 1 is officially streaming on Disney Plus today. This is going to be my reaction video to it and everything that we saw, with some diving into some of the Easter eggs and little clues that they gave us for what's to come to the series in the future. If you haven't seen it yet, there are spoilers ahead, so go watch it, come back, and if you enjoy this video, be sure to smash the thumbs up and hit the subscribe for more Marvel content all around as we smash into that intro. So, She-Hulk starts off with that traditional Marvel scene, and we get two new ones with Miss Marvel being there, which if you've seen Thor Love and Thunder, you would have already seen her, and as well as the Mighty Thor is also in the name in there as well. Nice little addition to the Marvel intro. Now it starts off with Jen kind of talking through her closing argument through a case, and how eventually it leads to her breaking that fourth wall, and that the closing argument is against GLK and H, the Goodman, Lieber, Kurtzberg, and Holloway, there we go, firm that eventually will hire her and bring her on to defend Abomination and see what else they're involved in. I'm thinking Sword, I'm thinking more evil kind of territory, more of what we saw from WandaVision, as well as in Jen Walters' little office that she has, that bookcase in the background. You could see UCLA, you see an owl, a werewolf, maybe Werewolf by Midnight, little teaser for that, and these various mugs that seem pretty Viking-ish, like Thor maybe, even like Asgardian. So I'll have to keep diving into exactly what is in the background here, but I saw this, it got my attention, and I want to know more about what is on that bookcase. Now eventually does lead to Jen Walters breaking that fourth wall, and it kind of sets us up for before Deadpool joins the MCU, and it could lead to some fun interactions between the two where they both turn to talk to the audience or talk to the you, whoever that may be, or maybe Jen has an alter ego, which I can talk about more later, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out when they have both the characters, which I hope they have both the characters at some point on screen. I think that'd be a hilarious moment, and she talks about how before she dives into this, it's a fun lawyer show. She needs to explain her backgrounds of being a She-Hulk. And that's how we get the story of Hulk, what he's done during the blip, how he's able to revert back to human form with the inhibitor, and how he's able to kind of maintain himself, and what time he spent during the blip and where he was. Of course, this all leads to Jen kind of talking about Cap and how busy he was and maybe not enough time for something in particular, i.e. losing his virginity, which clearly is the key theory in this entire episode that we all want to know the answer to, that we didn't know we wanted to know the answer to. But she does bring up some good points for that. However, we'll get to that later. Then a Sakaran spaceship arrives right in front of them. They swerve out of the way and get out of there, leading to the wreck, which Jen then cuts herself as she's getting out, saves Bruce. Some of his blood gets into her system, and that's how we get this new She-Hulk. She loses herself in this rage, gets lost, and eventually mysteriously wakes up outside of this bar where she gets cleaned up by some friendly strangers, and some guys try to pick a little bit of interest and see what's going on, and she's not having it, and she hulks out. But luckily, before anything happens, Bruce Hulk comes and kind of knocks her out, takes her to Mexico, and that's where we see the Bruce lab that he spent all that time during the blip learning to focus that Hulk energy and merge his two alter egos. Now as Jen reverts back to human form, Bruce gets some of her blood to analyze and uses her blood to fully heal his arm, which is kind of an interesting thing. He's able to completely be Hulk again, no burns, arms fully healed, and he's in that Smart Hulk, as everyone calls him apparently, including himself, that Smart Hulk form that he's stuck in. Now once analyzing the blood, he realizes that they are different people, but they share some similarities, but her genes and DNA is able to process the gamma radiation differently than he is, to where it's not lethal, and she might be able to control it a little bit better, which we see throughout the whole first episode, her ability to control that She-Hulk persona, which turns out is just Jen. There's no alter ego, like Hulk has Hulk and Bruce for the longest time until Smart Hulk arrives. This is just Jen the entire time. They just give her the She-Hulk name for when she turns green. Now we learn this lab, of course, was created by Tony, where Tony kind of dropped it by, helped out Bruce, and said that he'd swing by. It's just a loan. I'll swing by to pick it up someday. So interesting little like reminiscing between Bruce and Tony, and really what all Tony did for everyone, and how even though he was a bit selfish at times, he always had the best interests at mind. But Jin then realizes that they dodged a spaceship, and Hulk kind of talks about how it was a Sakaran courier ship and that he needs to get the bottom of it. They want to deliver a message. The last time we were dealing with Sakarians, it would have been the Battle of Earth or Ragnarok, and the Grandmaster in particular. The Grandmaster could want his champion back. Maybe they're delivering a message that Hulk needs to return, that he is still the champion of this contest of champions, and that he needs to return, which could lead to the World War Hulk that a lot of people are rumoring and teasing about that could be released in Phase 6. And this is when we kind of start to see the Hulk training montage, starting with the Death Chamber, how she turns and learning that she doesn't have this alter ego. She's conscious and in full control. They throw some rocks, they ground pound, and she takes to it very easily, very quickly. And Bruce kind of gets a little jealous. He gets a bit petty, pushes her off a cliff. She manages to flip him the bird though before she falls and says it's a dick move. And we kind of get to see that he kind of is jealous and wishes that he was able to be at ease with this. And it shows the same abilities, so they're both Hulks. However, she's able to control the anger, control the radiation and everything that's happening a little bit better than Hulk can. And it's able to revert her form pretty freely from Jin to She-Hulk. You really get to see this easy transformation from Jin to She-Hulk when they're doing their DDP, the dialect. They're doing yoga. Okay? Hulk, you just gotta call it yoga. It's just yoga, but it's okay. They're doing their yoga, and she's able to say about all the things that she has to deal with, and it makes her angry. She just has to control it, channel it, and she turns into She-Hulk, says, "No, I'm doing this," and goes right back to Jen Walters' form before she says, "Okay, I think I'm good. I'm gonna leave now." It's very interesting to see how easily she's able to control this, very much like the comics, how when she's introduced in the comics, she is pretty easy to acquire these powers, pretty easy to control them, and easily change between She-Hulk and Jen Walters' form and never get stuck in there. Which leads to the Ultimate Hulk fight. They're kind of fighting over the island. It ends at the bar, but before that we get to see the difference in the thunderclap. I'm so excited that we get to see the thunderclap. Hulk does it first, and then she tries it. It's just a little clap, and then she starts really clapping, and it's like these sound waves just hitting him. So it's interesting to see same abilities, same powers, but used in different manners. Hulk's is all power, hers is sound waves that kind of push him down, which interesting little change. I like it, and I wonder how it'll be used later on down in the series and in the MCU. So as they're repairing the bar, this is the first time, technically, if we're going to chronological, since this happened a few months before the very intro of the show, this is the first time where Jin kind of breaks that fourth wall, and they both look confused by it. So I wonder if her getting this Hulk power, the She-Hulk persona, is what kind of channels her into breaking that fourth wall, turning and talking to that illusional somebody that no one really knows who is. Is it us? Is it somebody else? Does she actually have an alter ego that she just talks to, and that's her kind of way to cope with what's going on? It'll be interesting to see how that continues and how it compares to Deadpool's ability to kind of break that fourth wall as well and talk to us as he's doing whatever he's doing. Eventually, they both agree that she knows what she's doing. She's able to handle it. So it's able for her to join back into her normal life and go back to being a lawyer, where Bruce says the door is always open. I'm curious as to what Hulk does now, Bruce does now, if he's going to go see the Sakaran spaceship, study that some more, figure out what message they had to deliver. What exactly happened to that spaceship? Did he destroy it? There's a couple possibilities, whether it was destroyed or maybe they just wanted to take out the Hulk for him leaving and him abandoning the contest of champions. So we're back to the lawyer show of She-Hulk walking to the case. They're delivering their speech. We get to see a familiar face that we saw in the trailer, the head of the GLK&H company, which eventually will be hiring Jen Walters, not She-Hulk, or be hiring She-Hulk. At least in the comics, they only hired Jen Walters and specifically said they don't want She-Hulk. So it'll be interesting to see how that pertains. But seeing as how they already know about Abomination and his reaction to Hulk, I think they're hiring both of them for their superhuman defense for the law. And right before she gives her closing argument, Titania appears and breaks through the wall, which Titania is a long-running rival between She-Hulk. Their fights go on every comic run that she's ever been in, including the current one that's happening right now. They're fighting it out. But it's interesting to see, since Secret Wars is coming right around the corner, 2025, Titania actually gets her powers from Doom and from technology on Battleworld, which Battleworld is the place where Secret Wars appears, or Secret Wars takes place in the comics. Titania's first appearance is actually in Secret Wars number 3 from 1984. So it'll be interesting to see, is Titania just thrown in there because she's the rival between She-Hulk, or is she in fact a giant Easter egg for what's to come in Secret Wars? Now it ends with She-Hulk punching her out. She goes back to Jen form, fixes herself, fixes the hair, and says she's ready to give her closing argument before we cut to the credits. And in the credits you can kind of see a few things with some Avengers evidence, S.H.I.E.L.D. evidence. It doesn't seem like I didn't really catch anything. I gotta go back and like watch it some more. I didn't see anything that kind of alluded to what's to come in the series or any kind of hints or anything. More just awkward things that She-Hulk will have to now face and understand and deal with being in a Hulk form. Now this does end with a post-credits scene where Jen is appearing drunk and talking that Cap was just so busy saving the world he never got time to experience the appeal of sex, and how that America's ass was never fully taken advantage of, utilized appropriately, I guess is the best way she go for that. But she's pretending to be drunk, and eventually Hulk lets out that Cap did lose his virginity in 1943 on the USO tour, which leads us to wonder, was it Peggy Carter, or did Cap have some other lover out there? I want to dive into that some more later once I start figuring out the timeline and getting those pieces. As we know, the timeline can be a bit wonky, especially since we don't know when exactly Cap went back in time after returning the Time Stone. So it'll be interesting to see what all happens in there. I'm super excited for this series. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. What is your reaction to She-Hulk? Personally, I think they did an amazing job dealing with the serious mixed with the comedy and not overdoing either one. And also, anyone that said the CGI in the trailers looked like crap and it wasn't going to do well, it looked amazing in the show in the final form. That's all that matters. I cannot wait for the next episode on next Thursday, which I will be doing a reaction to that. Stick tuned for more of my breakdowns for She-Hulk as we continue into this fun ride and see what is next to come. As always, heroes, stay amazing. Until the next one, bye-bye.